Jonathan,
Yes.
let's talk about tech history.
All right. This week we're covering November 1st through the 7th. And first off, we have the first transistor radio goes on sale.
First transistor radio.
This looks like pretty high tech. Like I would buy this if I was back in the day, the 1954. Like
Yeah, I
to be
mean,
getting one of these transistor radios.
it does look pretty nice. I mean, it's one of those pieces of technology that like I don't know. I mean, little speaker, a little dial, a little volume dial, and I think if I'm not mistaken, over on the left side of the of that box, it looks like a little headphone jack.
Cool.
Is that how old headphone jacks are?
I don't know.
I feel like headphone jacks are so archaic and they're still being included. I mean, I have a fairly new MacBook Pro that's about 6 months old, and it has a headphone jack. And it hasn't really gone anywhere. I think most things still have it, except for phones. Phones are starting to get rid of it.
Yep. I mean, I like using headphone jacks, even though there's like Bluetooth and all that now. But yeah, just being connected to your device.
Yeah. And so this now this is transistor radio. This is not a two-way radio, right? This is just a radio.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought radio was older.
Well, maybe just like this kind of portable one is newer.
Yeah. Transistor technology was partnered with IDEA to design manufacture the completed radio. How funny how they named it TR1. Transistor radio version 1.
What?
They're like, oh, you want to be able to get this group of band? Yeah, that'll be the TR2. Everything's got to start somewhere, right? Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Next up, we have November 2nd, Morris worm tunnels through the internet.
Man, oh man, this guy, Morris Worm. So Robert Morris, oh my gosh. He was attending a prestigious university. Cornell University is a very prestigious university, and they have a what do you call it? A science program, computer science program that is probably worth the money that you pay for. This particular program is not cheap, and it's very challenging. But he created a program that would go out and count the number of machines that were out in the internet. But due to a programming error, he ended up infecting machines, inadvertently. Wasn't something that he did on purpose. He inadvertently ended up infecting machine, and it just clogged network traffic, which eventually took down the communication between government and university systems for up to 2 days. They dismissed him from Cornell, and he was sentenced to 3 years of probation and was charged $10,000 fine. 1988, a $10,000 fine today, I would say would be equivalent to like $100,000 fine.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
This was something serious. The problem is that he didn't do it on purpose. I feel that he was, I mean, again, he had to go in and he had to go and write something, and he was just testing something out. I just don't feel that the punishment fits the crime in this case.
Yeah. I mean, like this was like the early internet too. I mean, it says that he took 10% of the internet at the time. I mean, like, I wonder if this was like one of the first computer worms that kind of happened.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty harsh. Poor guy, man. I wonder what he's doing now. Robert Morris. We should look him. Oh, you know what? We should make a note and include him in our tech birthdays.
Oh yeah, huh?
Robert Morris. Yeah, we'll have to look for him.
Cool.
Moving on.
All right, next up we have November 3rd, the first Earthling into orbit.
The first Earthling.
The Soviet
Oh,
Union launches Sputnik 2 with a husky inside.
you see him?
Oh wait, really? They have it inside? Oh wow. That's a small little spot for that dog.
Yeah,
Wow, yeah.
that sucks.
Well, unfortunately, he only made it a few hours and died from stress and overheating.
Yeah,
Wow.
man. Those Soviets, man, they're heartless. I mean, what were they thinking?
Yeah, it also says that the Sputnik 2 didn't have a reentry plan, so it was designed to crash and die.
Wow. You would
Poor little-
think it, I mean, you would think you would send maybe just some sensors. It's like, hey, let's see what the pressure is like. Let's see what the heat's like, and get some pressure readings. But to send a freaking dog, man, come on. That's not cool.
Yeah.
That is not cool at all. Where was PETA at?
All right. Next up, we have November 4th, Attack of the Clones.
Oh man, this is yeah, this is quite the story here. Um so IBM had what they called a BIOS, which was like the boot up sequence of a computer is in the BIOS. And for whatever reason, Compaq ended up cloning their BIOS. So I forget where we read or we announced, we actually had another segment where if you reverse engineer something, you can recreate it. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, like there's no copyright infringement charges or anything if you reverse engineer.
Yeah. And so that's what they did with the BIOS that IBM created. And by creating the clone of the BIOS that IBM created, they were able to build PCs everywhere. Man, Microsoft just made a killing off of this because no matter what operating system or what brand of operating system Microsoft decided to put on a PC, they can rebrand the same operating system and not have to worry about the fact that it's not going to work from a clone to a real IBM PC because they were basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big ripoff for IBM. IBM lost on this one.
I mean, without this, also, we wouldn't have the personal computers that we have now. We'd probably all have IBMs if they took over.
Yeah, yeah. IBM would have been the dominant computer.
All right.
I had a Compaq, my first computer.
Cool. All right. Next up, we have November 5th, Android introduced.
Wow, this one
Google
here.
Uses Android.
Who would have thought that a Linux-based operating system would be transformed to be used for a phone?
Yeah.
And it would just take over the world. They have a large share of the market. I kind of want to just look up what is the Android versus iPhone market share. Controlling, okay, so Android maintained its position leading mobile operating system, June 2021, controlling mobile OS market with a close to 73% share. Wow. 73% of the phones are running Android in the market.
Wow.
That's a large percentage.
And I feel like they haven't been around for that long. 2007?
Yeah, no, they're, I mean, what is it, 13, 14 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think the way that they ended up opening the platform for developers to be able to create applications for this phone played a big part. People want to be able to access the operating system and be able to create applications and make it easy. You know, it's like, give us the framework that we need to be able to create our applications and make money, you know, just like Google is going to make money with this with their products. And so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. 2007.
All right. Next up, we have November 6th. IBM signs a deal with the devil.
Wow, these are some harsh words, man. Some really harsh words.
So IBM and Microsoft were working together.
I mean, basically they're saying Microsoft is the devil here. Is that what they're saying? That's really harsh. So this is related to the story we just talked about, right? The IBM clone.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what IBM was doing was that they were looking for an operating system, and they were actually going to go with CPM at first, but for whatever reason, the deal just fell through, and they went to Microsoft and say, hey, do you have an operating system that we can include in our PCs or for our personal computers, which is what we call PC nowadays? And yeah, Microsoft ended up buying this operating system called QDOS, or quick and dirty operating system. And they rebranded it. They bought it. They rebranded it as IBM PC DOS. And when the clones came in, when they cloned the IBM BIOS, and they were able to get all these clone machines, then they rebranded the same IBM PC DOS. They rebranded it as MS DOS. And so, and there was even another story tied to this, where the company that they bought QDOS from sued Microsoft because of the licensing that they ended up using. That's like, the company's like, whoa, wait a second. You didn't tell us that you were going to relicense this in the way that you're relicensing it. And they ended up settling out of court for $1 million back then.
Wow.
But they made a killing off of this operating system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just slapping a new label on it and just continuously selling it.
Cool. All right. Next up, we have November 7th. Pets.com put to sleep.
Do you feel this title is a little harsh?
Yeah, these titles are definitely a little more on the sadder side.
I know, they're kind of morbid. I mean, signing a deal with the devil and Pets.com put to sleep, because you know how when you have an old pet that is like, you know, it's not going to survive a surgery. It's like, what do? You put it to sleep, you know? Yeah, Pets.com. I mean, it looked like they had something going that was supposed to be very, very promising, but apparently their business plan just wasn't sustainable. And PetSmart ended up buying the domain Pets.com. So if you go to Pets.com, it'll just redirect you to PetSmart today.
All right. Yeah, I feel like that's some good marketing. I mean, like, you got Pets.com.
Yeah, yeah. The sock puppet mascot. And apparently they sold the sock puppet, and that's probably where most of their money came from. Cool.
All right. That's all we have for tech history this week.
Sounds good. Until next time.
Yes.
Peace out.